I just started the recording.
Excellent. All right, we've got 4 of us, so we'll kick it off. Okay, it is March 30th, 2026 at 11:31 on my clock, and we are convening the regular meeting of the Vermont Community Broadband Board meeting. We have 4 board members in attendance: Dan Nelson, Sarah Hoffman, Brian Otley, and myself. We expect Laura Sibilia soon, but she's not on yet. Christine, do you want to do a roll call of staff?
Yes, we have J.B. Ledoux, Lucy Fortier, Ginny Raboyne, Jose Aguayo, Tony Clutharo, UJ Lee, Alexi Montserrat, and Christina Sweet.
Excellent. Our first action is to approve the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda in our packet. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Any discussion or changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry 4-0. Next on our agenda is the meeting minutes. We have 2 sets of meeting minutes. We have meeting minutes from February 9th, 2026. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes in our packet as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Any discussion on the meeting minutes? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the meeting minutes from February 9th, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry 4-0. Okay, next are meeting minutes from February 12th. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as provided in our packet. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those or any discussion of the meeting minutes? Any changes? Do we still have Sarah? She's off the screen.
It looks like she dropped off just a second ago.
Okay. Hopefully she'll be pop right back on. We still have a quorum with 3 of us, so we'll just keep moving along. All those in favor of the meeting minutes from February 12th, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry 3-0. And we expect Sarah back on shortly. I see Laura has joined, and it is 11:34. Welcome, Laura. We're just waiting for Sarah. Got bumped off, and we're expecting her to pop back on. Okay, that's next on our agenda is item 3, which is the public comment section. Christine, can you take over for public comment?
Yes, I will. So at this point in the agenda, we take public comment. And if you would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. If you're on the phone, speak up. You'll be given 3 minutes to talk. So opening the floor for public comment. Not seeing any. Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, let's now move on to item 4 on our agenda, which is the CUD business plan review. Christine, is there anything in executive session? Oh, I see Sarah's back on. Hi, Sarah.
Yeah, in
You're
public
muted.
session. Yeah.
I was voted off the island momentarily, but somehow back in.
You haven't missed anything. We just did the minutes approval, so nothing substantive. We're just now moving on to item 4, just to begin that process, which is the CUD business plan review. So Christine, is anything to be presented in public session before we move to executive session?
No, nothing to be in public session. It's all private and confidential information.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we move into executive session pursuant to 1 VSA section 317C9, which protects confidential business information of the CUDs. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
that.
I'm going to give that one to Brian. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes carry 5-0. Okay, we will move over into executive session, and we should just be able to sit tight and move over.
Yep.
And
Keep
please
your microphones open.
unmute.
Yep.
Please unmute your microphones just in case that causes any issues.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open the room. For this executive session, Jose, Christine, Heron, Kay, Tony, Alyssa, and myself and our CUD partners will be joining.
Okay.
And you should be moving now.
Great.
Hi, Laura. I still see you in public session, I think.
Yeah.
Which account did you join with? Are you on your partner or
Oh.
your?
Yeah, I'm
Gmail.
on my Gmail.
Okay, let me see if I can get you to move over. 1 second, please.
I think I'm on my Gmail. I thought I was joining with my partner, but it appears it's my Gmail.
Did you accept on your Gmail account the meeting invite as well as the partner account?
Went to the, I joined from the, I thought I joined from the VCBB.
Okay. Can you join with your phone
Here, let me
maybe?
join now.
Thank you. And yeah,
I'm going to hang up my old one.
hi, Laura.
Hi, Jenny.
I'm trying.
Me too.
I did text you the meeting invite. If that's helpful to join from your phone.
That's where I am. Okay. Gosh. I'm here, Jenny.
Yes, hi, I see you. I'm not sure. Are you signed into your partner account or are you signed into your Gmail? I'm trying to figure out how to get you in there and I don't. I'm not able. There's one account that's showing up that I can move you to, and it's clearly not the account that you're on right now. So I'm trying to troubleshoot.
Gosh. Well, I'm gonna try. I've restarted my computer, so I'm gonna try and join with my computer. Right now, I'm on my phone, so it's hard for me to
Oh,
tell what I'm joining with.
You
so-
are? Oh, I see. You joined on your phone instead of, I get it. Could you call into the meeting if I text you the meeting phone number?
Sure.
Let's try that. And then yeah. I'm going to text that right now. Okay, you should have that.
Great.
And I'll just watch for you. And then just, are you going to drop off?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, I'm moving you over now. Hi there. I'll move you over now.
Laura, I see that you're on the screen. I just want to make sure, are you able, can you just chime in to make sure that you're able to speak? Yes, I see you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. I just want to make sure
Oh, God, what an odyssey.
you're alive and well.
It's the small things in life, Laura.
It is. Excellent.
I'm just looking for Sarah.
Okay.
Not sure if she got bumped out.
No, I don't see Sarah.
I don't either. See if she texted.
All right, in the interest of keeping us moving so that we can get done in a timely manner, I'm just going to report out. So we're in public session. We're waiting for Sarah to reconnect. We finished up a CUD business plan review. There was no action taken. It was just an update in executive session for item 4. So next on our agenda is item 5, which is a board policy approval policy. The board policy approval policy. Tony, is there anything in public session you want to tee up?
Yeah, but this is just a straightforward revision to the board's standard process for approving policies, preparing and approving policies, which will allow us to continue the workshop type of approach that we had been doing in the past, given the intervening changes to the open meetings law. So this process provides a simple, we can go through it step by step if you'd like, but it's essentially what it does is it gives staff the authority to conduct these workshops and then come back to the board in executive session and give the board legal advice with respect to the draft policy. And if the board feels as though the policy is in good shape and ready to be voted on, then it will be scheduled for the public session at the next board meeting so that the board can take in additional public comment, and then, approve it in open session at the following meeting. If not, we can go back to the drawing board kind of thing.
So there's ample opportunity for public input and public participation. It just,
Yeah.
what you're recommending is that there's a step in the middle that we move to executive session for attorney-client communication aspect. Is that fair to say?
Correct. Correct. Yes, we will be posting this publicly, and then the staff will be handling the workshop with stakeholders to try
Okay.
to reach a consensus, Patty, which, obviously that's what we're going to be trying to do.
Exactly. Okay. Do we need to go in executive session then?
On this policy, I don't think so.
Okay. And is there an action item that you need from us other than consensus to keep moving ahead?
Well, I'm hoping that the board will be comfortable with the policy and vote to adopt it.
Yeah, specifically what Tony is talking, aren't you talking about the revised? There's 2 policies here. One is the recoupment policy, which we want to move to get public input on. But the current policy around how to address policy changes required a board person present with sessions. So maybe you can explain that, Tony. That's the
Yes,
change.
all we're asking for today is for the board to approve the revision to the process for approving policies. So, that's what, I think that unless the board has questions and wants to go into executive session about that particular, process policy, happy to do that, but if the board is comfortable with it, I think the board can just vote now to adopt
Okay.
this process change. And then next month, we will be moving forward with the recoupment policy.
And what other changes other than what Christine just pointed out, that, not having a board member in the working sessions, are there any other changes other
No,
than that?
that's- No, it's, just that it's a staff-driven process. So it's not board business until we bring it to the board. It's something that the board is delegating to staff. That's really the key
Okay.
here.
Okay. Let's open it up for questions and
Sorry, I feel like
discussion.
I just need to say,
Go ahead, Laura. Laura, if you're able to hear us, we are not hearing you.
is here, so.
Can you say that again, Laura? You were basically blanked out for most of that. Wow, is the internet that bad in the State House? Laura, we're not able to hear you. She just sent a text saying the signal where she is at is experiencing difficulties.
Tony, this is Brian. Can you just remind us the intent of changing the policy and not requiring a board member to be there? It's just flexibility and time and just speed of process. Am I accurate in that, or was there another reason?
No, there really is another reason, and the reason is that under the revision to the open meetings law, which became effective in July of 2024, and you may recall when we did the affordability policy, we did that in a public meeting setting. So it was run with public comment. It wasn't a workshop type of working session, which is what we had with the construction standards and the construction standards and the policy agreement, which was very productive to be able to, roll up our sleeves and try to work through a lot of issues that way. And so, given the change to the open meeting law, this is an attempt to maintain that by allowing staff to drive that process.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Patty, I'm here. Your phone.
Excellent. If you have any questions, Laura, this is a great time to hop in.
Can I just make sure I've caught myself up here? The agenda the policy that we are talking about workshopping is for which?
Well, it would be for all policies going forward, but the next one coming up is the recoupment and transfer of ownership policy.
Okay, and stakeholders will include no board members?
That's correct. But
Question
what
mark?
we're asking for is, yes, we're asking for the board to delegate this to staff so that staff can manage this as a staff process with the stakeholders and workshops and trying to reach a consensus. And then coming to the board in executive session and getting the board's input and providing advice on what the issues of disagreement, if they're continuing issues of disagreement, are, so that the board can then get that legal advice and determine whether they want to move forward with the policy as is or send us back to the drawing board.
And so the board is trailing the policy development, not leading the policy development?
Well, the board will have full control as to whether or not they want to adopt what we've come up with.
But they won't provide input until after the stakeholders and staff have worked something out.
Correct.
Well, I would change that a little bit, Tony. The board policy the board certainly drives the policy, and we can have certainly can have discussions with the board. The board can suggest policies. We can have prior discussions to the policy. But as far as the public vetting process, this is where the change occurs. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to give the impression that we're going to come into the board with a policy without. Actually, I think the board really drives the policies. It's
Right,
just
the board would kick off that we either need a policy and say, here are the dimensions we're looking for, but we're basically delegating all the work aspect to a staff
That's all it is.
process. And then after that staff process with input from Vikuda and others, and you come up, it's percolating up, then based on your paragraph 4, then it says staff provide the draft policy to the board in a confidential packet for attorney-client communication and seek the chair's approval to add the draft policy to the agenda to be voted on in the next board meeting. So there's a whole board process to vet and review.
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah. So if it's starting with the board, yes, that sounds great. Thanks.
I would like to have this policy provided in the packet as a public document, because we received this as part of a confidential board packet. And rather than us vote on it today, I'm in support of what you've put on paper, but I'd like to put it in the board packet. So in the event anybody has some concern, we can at least get that input via the public comment section. We have an opportunity for have people chime in.
Okay.
Does anybody, any board member have concerns with that process? Okay. Tony, does that slow you down in any way that's a concern?
It would, I do think it complicates things for us moving forward with the recruitment policy next month. And my apologies. I guess I was thinking of this as more of a process type thing. But you're right, Patty, it should be vetted publicly.
And we'll work around the kink that throws for the next, the next meeting is not long. It's April 20th, I believe, which is not far out. That's 20 days.
Yeah, we'll keep going forward.
Okay. All right, let's do that then. That way it has a chance to be vetted by the public and get it in our public packet and all that good stuff. Excellent. Okay, anything else on item 5 of our agenda? All right, we're going to put that on for our next meeting. And now let's move to item 6, which is a BEAD update.
Yeah, Alexi will take this one. I would say, Alexi, whatever you feel comfortable talking about in public session, but we would move into executive session to talk about some of the negotiations that are going on. Because we are still negotiating with grantees, so that there's most of this information will be confidential. But go ahead, Alexi.
Yeah, sure. I'll cover that piece in a second. So the main news is that the Agency of Administration signed the notice of award. This means that we are officially underway. And so we will have until September 4th, under the BEAD rules, to complete all subgrantee agreements. So that means, that we have inked the dotted line with each of the awardees to get their projects moving. We are, of course, moving ahead as quickly as we can with that, but that is our deadline. The main things happening are, to that point, the development of the grant agreements. There were some additional terms and conditions included in our notice of award, along with the general terms and conditions from NTIA. So we're integrating those. We're developing the project milestones for the payment milestones, the monitoring pieces. And so we're hoping to have the revised model agreement posted by the middle of next month, so that we can incorporate all of those pieces into it. And that would be on the website. To that point, we are updating the website, just for the folks from the public who are here, keep an eye on that. now that we're moving into this phase of things, we sort of have to revamp the whole piece, and we're aiming to make that as useful for you as possible and providing as much information as we can. Those milestones, once we have them developed and into the grant agreement, will come with a subgrantee guide so that everyone understands what essentially the proof is that we will require for having met those milestones and how you provide that to us. All of this will be explained in a series of onboarding webinars that we are working to put together that should be happening over the course of the next month. We'll break things down into pieces around this, since there's a lot of complicated issues that in some cases NTIA is still issuing guidance on. So we'll be working to pull those together. And then the biggest other element that's moving alongside all of this is the permitting process. So as we know, the NTIA requirement is that all of the project needs to be through the NEPA permitting process and review prior to start of construction. In many instances, the awardees are breaking their projects down into sub pieces, which NTIA allowed so that you can move forward on one part of the project while still getting the permits for the others, as the logic of the construction dictates. And then, so that, is a lot of intensive work that we're doing to make sure we understand the permitting landscape, how to help everyone navigate state agencies. One of the requirements from NTIA is to host a permitting roundtable. This will include VCBB and all of the different state agencies that are involved in this process, as well as our NTIA Federal Program Officer. We're hosting that on Thursday. We've had a lot of interaction already with the agencies, and so in some ways this is just a recap of everything we've told each of them individually, but it is meant to be a forum where folks can raise any issues. As we know, we're under guidance from NTIA to complete the permitting process as quickly as possible, so this will be a forum ideally that will help facilitate those kinds of identifying any issues and keeping things as smooth as possible. We did present all of our permitting plans to the NTIA and NIST a couple of weeks ago, and they seem to provide positive feedback on where we are and what our plan is, so we felt pretty good about that. I believe that is those are the main issues, so happy to field any questions.
All right, thank you very much, Alexi. Questions of Alexi? Alexi, are there any timelines in there, the new timelines? Like you said, their NTIA is encouraging the permit process to be done as soon as possible, but are there any stop dead dates?
From a permitting perspective, the requirement is that everything be done, any given permit be issued within 90 days. I think all of us states have been forthright with NTIA in noting that we, as broadband offices, generally speaking, do not have any ability to enforce that kind of provision, but we will certainly do our level best to work with the agencies to move as quickly as possible. From a program standpoint, so as I mentioned, there's the September 4th deadline for the grant agreement. That then starts the clock. Once a grant agreement is signed, that starts the 4-year period of performance clock, during which the subawardee needs to have their project completed.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. Any other questions of Alexi? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Thank you very much. All right, that concludes item 6 on our agenda. There's no need for an executive session, correct?
No need, no.
Okay. Let's now move on to the ARPA interest resolution, item 7.
Yeah, this one is, we need a formal, annually, we need to have a earnings or an excess receipts request sent through the agency administration and approved and for our ARPA interest, which the board has previously approved for using as match to the BEAD recipients, the CUD BEAD recipients. So this conversation I will turn over to Tony. Or no, sorry, Christina to lead. And I will do this in executive session, Tony, is that the case?
I think it's up to the board. I think, if the board expects to have, attorney-client questions, they can, and to the extent, maybe it makes sense to go in there just in case.
Yeah, no, I think it does because I'll explain why, because the numbers in here are related to the BEAD grant subgrantee discussions, which is confidential.
Yeah.
So if we can move into executive session.
So Christine, this is specifically related in our confidential packet to the motion to reallocate match funding in response to changes to the BEAD program?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we move into executive session for just the parts that should be in executive session. Is there anything that you can say about this motion before we move in?
Yes, I'm happy to. This motion, what we're moving into executive session to discuss are the actual numbers that are allocated to the subgrantee, because that's the competitive nature. And that was what we'll limit the discussion to. Publicly, this is about the board previously has stated the willingness to use these these are interest payments that we've received for our ARPA money, which is approaching over $9 million. But that using those funds for match to the BEAD program is what we did as part of the proposal that's been approved by BEAD, by the NTI for BEAD. So this is all about how we allocate those numbers, which have already been previously approved by the board. And what we'll be talking in executive session are those specific numbers.
Okay, great. That's helpful. All right, is there any discussion before I make a motion to move in executive session? All right, I'm going to make that motion and we're going to move into executive session pursuant to 1 VSA section 313 C15, which protects records relating specifically to the negotiation of contracts. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry 5-0.
Okay, I'll go ahead and open up the room for you. In this executive session, it's going to be Tony, myself, Heron, Kay, and of course, Christine and the board. And the room is open. Alexi and JB, you will be moving over to the executive session as well.
Thanks.
Great, thank you.
It
It
looks like we
we've
have
got-
everyone.
Okay. All right, let me get rid of this duck thing there. Okay, we are back in public session. We have just been in executive session discussing bead program and the excess receipt funds from ARPA dollars that we've had, which are now over $9 million. There was no action taken in executive session. We're going to make a motion in public session to take action. I move that the board authorize the allocation of VCBB's ARPA interest funds to provide additional match funding to the bead CUDs. And this motion supersedes the October 13th, 2025 motion by the VCBB to authorize supplemental match funding to DV Fiber and Maple Broadband. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Patty.
Thank you, Sarah. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry 5-0. Thank you, everybody. Okay. All right, that moves us on to item 8 on our agenda, which is legislative update. Is Gwen with us?
Yep.
Here I
Wynn's here.
am. Here I
Excellent.
am. Hi, folks. Good to see you all. I think this should be a relatively short legislative update. So the legislature just finished their 11th week. We're heading into week 12. It was a big week last week. The House had, last 2 weeks have been a lot of bills, making crossover, policy bills, money bills, everything. So we had the 2 big budget bills move through the House, the FY27 state budget and the FY27 transportation budget. And on that front, for VCBB funding, there has been no changes to the governor's recommend and what has been proposed. So that's the good news. It was not a topic of discussion or adjustment. So that's great news. Now it's in the Senate for their consideration over the next 8 or so weeks, 7 or 8 weeks. The other issues that we're sort of following include the copper-based to fiber-based telecommunication transition and consumer protection bill, which is H898, which is currently in the Senate. The Senate probably will be taking up, because crossover does happen, we'll now start seeing each chamber and their relative committees start taking up the other chambers' bills now that they've worked through their entire calendars for the most part. And the late nights on the floor have stopped, at least for the time being, until the end of session. And so that is in the Senate, as well as that sunset of 30 VSA 248A permitting. There also is a data center siting bill that moved through the House, or is moving through the House and heading over to the Senate as well. I believe that's being up for discussion this week on the Senate side. And there's, just in general, there's just a bunch of, AI adjacent data privacy sort of bills and discussion sort of happening as well. Nothing super specific as of yet, but that's sort of the update. But I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has from the board.
Great, thank you, Gwen. Any questions of Gwen? Sounds like we're a good group this week. Thank you very much, Gwen, for all your work, and I appreciate the weekly updates.
Thank you.
Okay, let's now move on to item 9, which is the proposed resolution regarding data privacy bill.
Yeah, and I've prepared an opening statement for this one. And you did have a resolution, your confidential packet, but I've advised a simpler resolution, which I think you've all seen in the email that just went out, but we can talk about that in a minute. But taking a position on data privacy is important because it directly impacts the VCBB core mission of achieving universal service and helping Vermonters cross the digital divide. I want to clarify that this is not a position on artificial intelligence. We view our job as helping Vermonters prepare for AI and establishing a clear position on privacy is an important prerequisite to maximizing the positive aspects of AI. So let's talk about why privacy matters. High-speed infrastructure is useless to those who refuse to sign up due to fears of surveillance or misuse. Privacy is a prerequisite to meaningful adoption. Marginalized and inexperienced communities are often targets of predatory practices, so robust privacy protections ensure that the digital divide will not be replaced by the privacy divide. So here are some examples of things that VCBB could engage in. So engage with the Vermont Data Privacy and Online Surveillance Act, which is H.208, to ensure broadband specific protections like opt-in requirements for sharing browsing history, and supporting digital literacy by incorporating privacy protective behaviors in our training programs. So taking a stand ensures that Vermont's connected future is also a protected future. This is an emerging concern with the Vermont legislature, as well as many, if not most, state legislatures. Taking a clear position on privacy will be helpful to avoid the conflation of AI fears with data privacy concerns. So at this point, I'd certainly open it up for discussion.
Okay, so Christine, the motion that's in our packet, or the draft resolution, if we're going to vote on this, I think this whole thing should be read into the public record. Do you want to take action specifically on the resolution provided, or some other version?
Yeah, I think Ginny sent you a resolution, but I will read the resolution which we recommend. And I apologize for the change. Both I was out sick all day.
I have not seen anything in my email yet, so I'll look for that.
Okay, it's all right. It's quite simple. It's actually a motion versus a resolution. The motion is the board is protected to commit Vermonters' privacy and direct staff to take whatever actions are necessary to work with the legislature as well as grantees to ensure appropriate privacy protections are in place. So I'll read that again slowly. The board is committed to protect Vermonters' privacy and directs staff to take whatever actions are necessary to work with the legislature as well as grantees to ensure appropriate privacy protections are in place.
Okay. Questions, comments regarding that proposed motion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Laura.
Christine, where are you envisioning this policy would be coming into play?
Well, for the policy comes so that I guess the board has expressed its concern about privacy, but we haven't had a resolution for this. There's going to be a lot of discussion with AI and privacy, and I do think we need a position on this because, again, at the most basic level, we want Vermonters to feel confident to actually sign up and get connected. To help our CUD's business plan, but the discussions are happening already on the floor with H.208, and there's a number of other privacy discussions that have been happening. I'm not familiar with the other bills that are on the walls, but there are many out there, and the state broadband leaders have talked about this. And in December 11th of 2025, the president issued an executive order saying that any state that attempts to regulate AI will possibly lose its broadband funding. Now, that hasn't been established in a policy notice, except, the point is, I want to be clear that we're talking about privacy, not AI here. Not that I'm asking the board for any position on AI, just a position on privacy itself.
So thank you, Christine. I'm not sure that I was clear about my question. So the VCBB is a granting organization and a technical assistance provider. And so where would this policy come into play? In our grant conditions?
Yes, it would definitely come into play with our grant requirements. and that we would
Okay.
want all grantees to ensure data privacy.
Okay. And this resolution is asking for staff to engage in the legislative debate on
Well,
behalf of the board?
I would say we've been asked. Yeah, I guess we definitely want to participate in the legislative debate, but I guess that's up to the board.
I have a
So
comment.
I will just say that, I won't just say. I would say that I am very cognizant of the executive order. And as we are the BEAD entity for the state of Vermont, that this issue, I would say, requires great care. And that I don't know that the board should be completely hands-off on this, or that staff needs to testify, although we do have experts on our staff. So, I think the jeopardy, the potential risk to, I think the potential risk is clear, and I think I might be more comfortable if staff were to develop a statement on behalf of the board related to data privacy that it could reference, and that our attorney was clear did not violate the executive order and the efforts to ensure that AI can move forward expediently in our country. I think that's all I have to say, but I feel pretty strongly about that. Thanks.
So Laura, it sounds like your concerns are that this potential motion could trigger something with the administration's, I don't know what to call their thing that they put out in terms of
Executive
AI.
order.
The executive order, thank you. Tony, are you in a position to chime in on that?
Sure, I wanted to say just, I know Christine started out at the top, assuring the board that we were not intending at all to tread anywhere into that AI executive order territory. That's not the point of this. I think what the executive director is seeking is just the, broad approval from the board to continue to advocate for consumer data privacy protections, which, our experience with the board has been uniform support for those ideas in general. And to the extent any language were added to a grant agreement, as I'm sure the board recalls, what we have done with all of our policies is make clear that in the event there is any potential conflict with BEAD, BEAD wins out. So I don't know if that addresses your question, Patty. I know the original resolution that was provided was more tied to the specific legislation that's going through the General Assembly. But, the executive director is looking for some broader authority.
Do we have in our consumer
Patty,
protection
excuse me.
policy? Hold on, Laura. Do we have anything in our consumer protection policy where we've already weighed in on this?
Not specifically on data privacy. That was
No,
more focused on net neutrality, data caps, that kind of thing.
Okay, all right, that was my question. All right, Laura, then Dan.
Patty? Yeah, I just want to double check. I'm sorry with all the confusion today. It's unclear to me if we're in executive session or in regular session.
We're
No,
full
we're public
session.
session.
Public session.
I'd like us to move into executive session if we could, to consult with our attorney and include our lobbyist.
Before we do that, I want to take a question from Dan in public.
Thank you. I don't know as though this is in the, actually, I do know because I reread the purpose of the VCBB, and we are not explicitly here to protect personally identifiable information. While I think we all believe in that and we agree, this is something that the State House has clearly in its grip. I don't think we need to opine or provide support in this area. Let that take its own course. Our goal is to get connectivity put in place, and what comes in the other venues to protect consumer information and such, I think will play its own course. We don't need to provide an opinion here. It could be a distraction from what our real goals are. And there could be unintended consequences that we're not clear of in the way it's exactly written right now. So I think we should just be, and Laura brings up some excellent points of unintended consequences in the all kinds of areas. So I just think we should be silent on this and move on.
Christine, do you have any reaction to that? If we didn't pass, let me rephrase that. If we didn't pass a motion today, does that hinder you?
It does not hinder us. But it's a foreshadowing of what's to come. You know, this will definitely be an issue. It's going to be an issue moving forward, but maybe we address it at the time. The state broadband leaders are very concerned about this AI language, and many of the states, including ours, are having privacy bills, and where these cross is going to be the concern when it comes to the significant amount of BEAD non-deployment funding that's coming our way, which is about $116 million.
Okay.
May I reiterate?
Go ahead, Dan.
That's why I think we should stick in our lane and get connectivity, stay hyper-focused on connectivity.
Okay, Laura, do you still think we need to move into executive session for attorney-client discussion?
If we are going to move forward with a policy, then yes, I do. Or,
Right, there is no motion on the.
Yeah,
there's no motion on the table yet.
It doesn't sound like this is time urgent. Like, could we tee this up for a more fulsome discussion at a subsequent meeting? Because this is the first time this has hit the radar at a board meeting, right?
I think that's a wise thing to do.
Okay,
Christine,
let's do that then.
Patty?
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Christine, are you wanting to be able to weigh in on whether or not legislation that is moving in the Vermont General Assembly may violate the executive order?
I wish I could answer that question. And maybe what we do is we cross that bridge when we get there. But because we don't have the policy notice yet for the non-deployment funds, and it was supposed to be here March 11th, and we've heard directly from Ariel Roth that it's coming soon.
Yeah.
So, just that will really drive the discussion. What's in the policy notice for the 116 million?
Okay, and so I thank you. That's helpful, Christine. And what I would then say, I think, to the board is and to you, Christine, I actually don't think that that is a great place to put you in, shooting from the hip. I think these policies and executive orders are going to be litigated likely. And that if you feel strongly that the board should have a position to ensure that our intentions are clear, I do think that that would be better done as a board resolution or a statement from the board, and not you being asked to come in and opine about whether or not a piece of legislation may or may not violate. Don't forget, the legislature does have attorneys themselves and will likely be looking at that. And that seems riskier than just having a statement that you might be able to reference, that you help us think through in terms of making sure our intention is clear. I think that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm with Laura and Dan on this. I would want to be very specific on what we're laying out and what our, what our position is. And this is just a general statement. So I think it's a little premature personally. I support privacy. I've said that in the past, completely support privacy for all consumers using internet service. But how we roll this out is really important. The words we use are going to be pretty critical. So we can keep discussing, but I don't think we're ready for a motion or resolution at this point. Anybody else want to chime in? Sarah, Brian? Okay.
Nope.
Okay. There's nothing else on item 9, then we'll keep moving. Okay, not hearing from anybody or seeing hands.
Patty,
Let's now.
sorry.
Go ahead, Laura.
Patty. Yeah, sorry, I was muted. I do just want to thank Christine for keeping an eye on this. I think it is an important thing for us to keep an eye on. So
very well said. Thank you for
Yeah,
that,
and
Laura. Very well said.
I'll add too, this was exactly the discussion I wanted. I felt like we had to put a resolution on the table to discuss, but I'm happy with the outcome.
Okay, great.
Makes a lot of sense.
In the future, if we're going to do anything on this item, I would like it in public session. So this resolution really probably should have been in the public, not should have. Not probably should have. It should have been in the public packet.
Okay.
Unless you can convince me for another reason why, but I'm trying to stay transparent and fulfill our obligation to be communicating to the general public about what we're up to.
Well, it might make sense to come out of executive session, explain our position.
We're not in executive session.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, good. And that was a healthy discussion.
Right, it is. And I don't see any, if there's some strategy issues, then we can move into executive session on a particular resolution, but this clearly should have been in the public packet.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so it's something down the road we may be picking up again, but for now we're not going to take action. Okay, let's now move to item 10, which is the Vikuda update. Looking for Rob Vitsky.
Hi there. Super short today. Roads are drying up. Construction season is getting underway. For those that are still constructing, I know that some who have grants near closure or are going towards inspections. I would just say the CUDs are all off in their corners and very, very busy with individual activities. So there's not a lot of shared updates for you today. We are watching the policy activity very closely, the stuff you've been talking about today. And obviously, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to weigh in on all of those as those present themselves. So unless there are any questions, we'll keep it super short.
All right, thank you, Rob. Any questions of Rob and Vikuda's work? All right, thank you for all you do, as always. Let's now move to item, it's labeled 10, but I'm going to call it 10.1, parking lot.
Okay, Ginny, we'll take this one.
Let's see. Okay, can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So
I think
as you noticed,
we see
as
your
may
notes
notice-
too.
Oh, you
we
can see
see
my
your no-
notes too? What is happening? Well, let's try.
That's what you really think of us. Sorry.
No, it's just that I can't do it from memory. Let's see if this works. How about now? Is that
There
better?
you go.
Perfect,
Yeah,
thank you.
Perfect.
So as you can see, the parking lot has a different look to it. And I just wanted to take a moment to share that as of April 24th, all documents and or anything that's added to the website needs to be compliant with the new accessibility law. In order to comply with the law, we are needing to make some changes to the websites and all of our documents. So the law requires that the website and documents are accessible to individuals with varying abilities and individuals who depend on screen readers. Some examples of the changes are the use of plain language, high contrast, larger size font, minimizing the use of tables because they're just very difficult for the screen readers. As you can see on the slide, this is a draft of what a compliant agenda would look like. It does have all of the same information, just in a different format that's accessible. Currently, as you know, the parking lot is a very long and cumbersome document, and it's going to be a challenge to use that current document and have it comply with the law. So to clean it up and to be compliant, I would like to change the format to what you see on the screen. And I would like to remove the items that were completed earlier than 2026. The full parking lot document will still be available. It will just be archived. And going forward, I'd like to keep the completed items on for a full calendar year on the parking lot. And then at the start of each year, I'll archive that previous year. If the board agrees with this plan, I would like to implement this into the April board meeting. I'll just pause if there's any questions.
Jenny, this is Patty. I completely understand the rationale and the reworking of the parking lot to be compliant, but I will state, I do feel the table is easier. It's easier to sift through and look for stuff. But if that makes us out of compliance, then we obviously will have to do something different. I find this harder to find stuff.
I would agree with that. Absolutely. I can try to find a table that will comply. I can't promise that I can make it happen, but I certainly will do my level best.
Okay. Sarah? Sarah, you're up.
Keep track of things. Oh, you can't hear me.
I can now.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go to Brian.
Okay, let's go to Brian. We'll come back to Sarah.
Just one comment on the archiving, rather than like having the whole completed thing disappear at the end of the year. Can you just do like a rolling 6 month? Keep the last 6 months rolling and just delete the a month at a time.
Sure, that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, let's go back to Sarah and see if we can get her.
Going to suggest somewhat the same thing, that it would be better if it kind of was a rolling thing. So thank you, Brian.
Great. Thank you for your suggestions and feedback. And so hopefully I'll be able to find a table that will work with the requirements.
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, no problem. So moving on to the actual parking lot items. All of the items on this slide and the next slide continue to be in progress. Item 163 is ongoing and has an annual review date that I have set in the planner, so that will be reviewed yearly. Staff recently followed up on task 149 and reports to date, OCCUD is not ready to present. Item 162 will be updated as information is available in the weekly update. Items 161 and 146 will both be addressed with the next budget presentation, and staff is hoping to do that in April. On this slide, task 145, staff reached out to any KCV who advised they are making progress. They have recently hired someone to manage this project with a start date of April 6th. So they will reach out to us once they've settled in and announce the launch date. So we'll follow up on that. The remaining tasks on this slide continue to be in progress. Staff anticipates reviewing the recoupment and transfer of ownership policy in the April board meeting. So you're going to see a duplicate of number 163. So somewhere along the way, I had a couple of numbering errors. So just tracking that now, but item 163 was completed. Staff reached out to PSD and received that clarification and provided it in the January weekly update. There was also a duplicate 164. So the first item 164 on the slide was completed, and the new date and time was identified as the third Monday of each month, as we know. The second item 164 was completed in the January board meeting. So I just wanted to follow up on that. Item 165, staff reached out to Mr. Flynn, who noted that EC Fiber did share their pricing data and comments in the public comment section and didn't have any further to share at this time. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Very well
Thanks.
presented and thought and well organized. Any other
Thank you.
comments? Okay, hearing and seeing none. That brings us to item 11, which is public comment or closing public comment.
Yes, for this item, anybody from the public can speak. You'll be given 3 minutes to make your statement and raise your hand if you'd like to speak, or if you're on the phone, just speak up. Okay, not seeing anyone that makes a comment, so I think we're good to go.
Okay. That brings us to item 12, which is confirming our next meeting date, which is the third Monday of the month being April 20th, 2026 at 11:30. Does that work for everybody? Does that still work?
So far, yep.
Be there, Patty, but I'm not sure you should change it either.
Okay. All right. If we had a couple of us, and obviously if we have 3 of us that can't make it, then we can immediately address that. But if there's just one, we'll continue to move for that date.
So that is not the day, that is not the Monday of my regularly scheduled work meeting. The 6th, so that would be fine.
The 20th. Okay. The other thing that I did not recognize this or catch this at the beginning of the meeting, but our traditional executive session at the close of each meeting is not listed on the agenda. I'm going to move that we do continue to have that practice. That's a traditional practice. It's just not listed on the agenda. So at this time, I'm going to make a motion that we amend the agenda on the fly here for 12.1. which would be to have board review executive session for personnel matters. Is there a second for that? Thank you, Dan.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so we're going to add that to the agenda. So our next meeting date will be April 20th. And now we am going to make a motion that we the board, this is for board only. We go into executive session pursuant to 1 VSA section 313A33, authorizing a public body to hold an executive session to consider personnel matters. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry 5-0. All right, we'll move into executive session. Christine, Dan and I will follow up with you afterward, and we'll give you the time of when we came out of executive session.
Okay, so at this point, we won't be coming back to the main board meeting. This is essentially
Exactly.
the end. Yeah, okay,
Exactly.
okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, I'm going to open the room for you. Hi, Sarah. You have not moved yet. It doesn't look like. I'm going to go in and see if I can move you over.